And again, we go from 1961 at being about 5.4%, and to the 2011, that's more than tripled to 2011 of being 17.9%. Again, as this eats up more of your GDP, your gross domestic product, it's taking money out of the rest of the economic system, and it creates problems in economic growth because you can't just grow on a service industry like healthcare. What we see is in 2021, that's liable to go from the current of about 17.9% of GDP to about 19.5% or 19.6% in 2021. So the growth continues, and again, it's recognized as being unsustainable. We can't continue down this path. Just a couple more geeky slides if everyone wants to put up with it for a minute. The next
they
one
are geeky. I have to say, they are geeky, but
really,
I know they're really important.
What's that? It doesn't. What it does is it represents that if you are a worker in the United States, you're starting to spend more and more of your pocket money, the money out of your pocket, towards healthcare. And this is probably the last one that we really need to look at. We may skip to the very last one, but let's look at the health spending per capita. This will be the third slide. And it's not easy to read, but what you basically see is, again, the continued growth when compared the United States, which is the far right chart, which is the health spending per capita, and as a share of the GDP. When you look at the share of the GDP, which is, again, going back to 17.7%, that puts the United States well on the right-hand column, well ahead of everyone else. The important part of this, though, is $8,500 per capita of everyone goes towards healthcare costs. And if we just look at some of the other countries, we can see that the next closest country is Switzerland, and that's 5,643. So then we look at the personal healthcare spending adjusted for inflation, and again, we see that we continue to rise and that there's a lot of cost increases as you go from left to right. And then let's just skip to the last chart and we'll sort of wrap this up. And the last chart is this line of major programs as a share of the federal budget. And this always surprises a lot of people. The red line on the top is defense, and we can see that back in 1971, which is the beginning of this chart, it was just about 38% of the share of the federal budget was defense, and it's now down to 20%. The entitlement programs, Social Security, have remained somewhat steady. They're now at 20% from 1971, where they were about 17%.